Welcome, bon laissez bon temps roulette. This is Classics You Slept Through, the book podcast where we read classic books to you and discuss them.
It's ridiculous. I'm
your host, Kyle Crawdad Davis, along with a girl who has never said a beat, never seen, I can't even do it, who has never seen a set of beads she didn't like, my sister, Meredith.
You gotta warn me when you do that kind of stuff.
How's it going, Mare?
It's going just fine. It's ridiculous.
Come on, we are down in hot, sweaty New Orleans. You gotta be ready for these sort of things.
I'm not ready, and I think that might be offensive.
It's yes. It's what you say.
No, it's not.
It's what you say. It's what you say at Mardi Gras. It's
what? I've never been to Mardi Gras. It's absurd.
It's like the Mardi Gras greeting. It's like, hey, good. Let the good times roll.
I don't. What did you even say?
Laissez le bon temps rouler.
It's ridiculous. What does that mean?
And you're supposed to respond with we share.
We share.
We share. Oh, you can't say we share. It's like we're sharing things. Yeah. You gotta we share. Yeah.
Oh, O-U-I share.
Yes. We share.
O-U-I.
All right.
Okay.
We share.
Perfect.
We do share things.
We do. We share lots of things.
All right. All kidding aside, we are the book podcast that reads books to you. And today, last week, we read to you the first 12 chapters of The Awakening by Kate Chopin.
We did.
And if you haven't listened to it and didn't pick it up from my heinous intro, this book is set in New Orleans, as us Northerners say, or Nolans, if you're from down there. Nolans, in the early turn of the century. So this is turn of last century. Book was written in 1899.
Mm-hmm. It was.
So we have got a lot of Creole. We are amongst the Creole people of southern Louisiana in this book.
And this is legitimately something I know absolutely nothing about. So I'm learning a lot.
Have you ever been to New Orleans?
No, I've never been to.
You have not?
No. Never.
Oh.
It's on the list, but we haven't gotten there.
Oh.
Yeah, we haven't gotten there yet. Lots of things going on, stuff happening.
This is true. This is true. I have actually been to New Orleans, so I do have one up on you there.
I didn't know you'd been to New Orleans. Were you there for business or were you there for pleasure?
For pleasure. We were in the area, and so I said, you know what? We're in the area. We're going to go to New Orleans.
Nice.
And we walked through the French Quarter and hung out, and we did all that. And I got, things you have to do in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. You have to eat some beignets.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
I went and got some beignets. And as a kid from the North, I took a bite and said, this is just funnel cake. Whatever.
No, it's different.
It's literally the same thing. You just, instead of drizzling it into the pan, you just did it as a ball. It's the same thing.
Maybe balls taste better.
So I was not that impressed by beignets, having eaten funnel cake every summer growing up.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Anyway, so we are going to talk about The Awakening by Kate Chopin. I have never read this book. This was your pick, Mare.
It was.
You like this book. Mm-hmm. So do you want to intro it for us?
I can intro it. It's one of the cornerstones of, I think, feminist literature. If you have ever taken like an intro to feminist literature class, you probably read it. I love this book. I find the writing to be achingly beautiful. And like I said, I don't know much about Creole culture, but a lot of the themes in the book resonate with me deeply, and I think it will also resonate with some readers, but also I think it will also be new and challenging for some readers as well. So I'm really excited. That's about the best introduction I've got right now. Nothing great.
Definitely. I will say so I have never read it before, and after reading these first 12 chapters, I gotta say I'm not the target audience of this book.
No, you're not. No.
I am definitely not the target audience. This is the first book that we have done on this podcast where I've had to put some work in to understand.
That's good.
Understand, because it is not. And as we'll see as we go through these chapters, this is also the first book that I think, even though there are deeper meanings behind the other books that we read, mm-hmm. all of the other books that we read have a narrative and a story and a structure that I think the narrative and the story is completely secondary to the themes of this book and what this book is trying to say.
Interesting.
So I think it's more, the other books told a story and was trying to say something. This book just is trying to say something, and we'll see if it actually tells a story. But
see, now I think it tells a story, and I think that story
yes,
is not secondary to the themes. I think the themes are stronger. There's a big thematic element here that we'll obviously get into, but I find myself very absorbed in the story of the lives and the inner lives of the characters, especially the main one, which we'll get into in a little bit. But I find, I don't know, I find this story very captivating, and I don't know. We'll have to see what each of us thinks as we go on. But definitely it's very thematic. And our perspectives are going to be...
I'm going to guess they're going to be different.
Yeah.
That's just me, but we shall see.
I think they're going to be quite different.
All right, well, so let's get into it. Okay, so chapter 1 kicks off, and we meet our protagonist. Well, actually, I guess we basically meet maybe the antagonist, Mr. Léonce Pontillier. And we get a basic layout of where they are. So they are it's the summertime. They're on summer break. And they are at Grand Isle, which is an island off of Louisiana. And this is sort of a summer encampment, summer resort. Yeah, a little vacation resort. Bath of the South, if you will.
Bath of the South.
But with fewer amusements, I suppose.
That's ridiculous.
It's run by the LeBrun family, and there's a main house and some cottages, some cabins where the other folks who are staying on the island are. Right,
and we meet all of our important characters, not just Mr. Pontillier, Léonce, but we meet his wife, Edna, and we meet Robert, and Robert's mother, Madame Lebrun, who runs the cabins. And everyone's just pretty much hanging out, living the vacation life, going swimming, sunbathing,
right,
doing their thing.
Right. And Robert's out swimming they were swimming, right, and now they're kind of flirting, kind of hanging out. And Mr. Pontillier, Léonce, he's a little bit of a downer because he took his swim in the morning when it was cooler, like a normal person. That's the time to do it. He doesn't truck with Robert and his wife swimming in the middle of the day when it's hot.
No, but he's also much older.
Correct.
Than them. And so...
Right. We don't explicitly learn her age until later.
Yeah, but she is younger.
Which is interesting because in my first read through, I did not pick up on her. I was picturing her more as the older, middle-aged lady that Robert was trying to romance.
Oh, really? Seriously?
So,
like Robert's like a cougar hunter or something? Is that what they're called?
I'm gonna plead the fifth. No.
What? I think that's what they're called.
Well, the cougar would be the aggressor, I think.
Oh.
In this case, he would be, Anyway, let's move on. So,
all right.
At this point, narratively, that's about all that happens, right? We've got Mr. Pontillier sees Robert and his wife kind of chit-chatty and flirting.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's about all that happens, quote unquote. But thematically...
No, something else happens.
We're seeing...
Yeah, Mr. Léonce goes to Klein's hotel to go play billiards.
That's next chapter. He takes off. We're still in chapter 1.
He takes off now.
Oh, does he play billiards the first chapter?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, he does. Okay. So, we've set up sort of, in a very short amount of time, she has set up the basic interactions between these main characters. We get a little bit insight into maybe the culture that Mr. Pontillier is from, the Creole culture a little later on. Mm-hmm. But in this early part, I was, is he oblivious to the flirting? Does he care? Does he not? He does try to send Robert away at this point. He tells him, hey, why don't you get yourself up on out of here? Well,
he doesn't send him away. He wants him to come with him to play billiards at Klein's. So he invites him to join him.
Right.
So maybe it's a way of sending him away. He's like, why don't you come with me so that you stop hanging out with my hot wife?
Well, she's not, we'll see. She's not exactly hot, but, she's not bad looking. Just as an observation in this first chapter, just reading it, I can feel the humidity and the heat and the oppressiveness already. Like
That's what you feel?
As they're sort of languidly laying about, just chatting and, after they've swum. And
yeah,
me reading this book, I can hear cicadas and I can feel the heat. Like I felt uncomfortable.
You felt with the heat.
Yes.
It's like that. It's so hot. They're like dripping. They're like laying all over the porch and everybody's sweating.
Yes.
And that there's not much to do other than to swim and then just lay.
Have you seen, it's a very old movie. It's not for your kids, but have you seen Body Heat with William Hurt?
No, I haven't.
Early 80s?
No.
Anyway, it's about a married couple. I don't know if he's married. Anyway, she has an affair. They have an affair. But the movie's called Body Heat, right? Mm-hmm. And it is set, most of the scenes are at night in the city, and it's hot, and people are just sweating in every scene. Like, it's just this oppressive feel of heat and sweat, and it's very visceral, and like that's how I felt reading this book.
Now, you've been a lot of hot places and lived a lot of hot places. How do you feel about the heat?
Oh, I hate the heat. I hate it. I hate it. So we were just down in Florida in the Panhandle, and it was miserably humid. And we got back up to South Carolina, again, miserably humid. And, now I'm on the road for this episode this week. I'm up in Northern Virginia, getting back up into Pennsylvania, which we also were last month. Mm-hmm. And it's so nice because in the evening, it's like chilly. And like, I have to actually put something on in the evening. It's not oppressively hot constantly.
Oh my God, it's 68 right now and we've got a fire.
Oh, see?
It's great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's awesome. How it should be. It's September. That's how it should be.
Yeah, you need a jacket.
All right, so that's kind of our first chapter.
Well, I also wanted to mention that our first chapter is only a few short pages, and it sets up all of our main characters in this whole like triangle thing. It's really good writing.
She is very concise, and this is where you can tell good, a hallmark of good literature, I suppose. She does not waste words in this. Everything is very calculated, and you know exactly what she's getting to immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, this book is all meat, no fluff, basically. All right, so we get into chapter 2, and we get a little bit more description of Mrs. Pontellier, and she's more handsome than beautiful. So she's not super hot, but she's attractive.
Yeah, but she's very engaging.
Robert engaged. Yes, good personality, nice smile.
Yeah. She's got a great personality.
Yes.
She's engaging and she's introspective, and she and Robert chat incessantly. It says Robert talked a good deal about himself. He was young and did not... What?
And we're going to do that a lot. We're going to probably slip up and say Robert. I did it too.
Did
Robert.
I say Robert? Yeah, Robert.
Yeah, Robert, whatever.
Yeah. But I was saying he talked a good deal about himself because he was very young and didn't know any better. And Edna talked a little about herself for the same reason. But each was interested in what the other had said, which I think is really sweet because they're really enjoying each other's company.
Sort of harkens back to our last book in Northanger Abbey, where even though our heroine, Catherine, and Tilney, Mrs. Sister Tilney, that they just had small talk, but it was very earnest and heartfelt.
Yeah.
As opposed to other small talk interactions that she had in Bath that were not. So Robert and Edna here have very easy conversation. They get along really well. They're very comfortable, and they talk pretty much about anything.
Yeah, and we also learned that Robert Robert wants to go to Mexico in the autumn, where he believes that fortune awaits him. And he's always been intending to do this, but he's never gotten the chance to do it. And so,
he's poor, but not destitute. He's got a job up in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And his family, their only source of income is this resort they run. Mm-hmm. But it mentions that he smokes cigarettes, not cigars. Mm. And he's got a cigar that Mr. Pontellier gave him that he's kind of keeping. He hasn't smoked it yet.
Yeah, and you mentioned he's got a job. He's got a job back in New Orleans. He works in a mercantile house, and he also speaks 3 languages. So he speaks English, French, and he speaks Spanish. So that's kind of impressive.
Right.
And Grand Isle is mostly a Creole community. We learned that as well. And it says Edna is distinctly an American. She is not Creole. Right.
She is from Kentucky.
Right. Says she's distinctly American.
Right.
Not that Creoles aren't American.
They're a subculture.
Yeah. But she's here among the Creole community. And her father has a Mississippi plantation, it says.
Okay.
But her girlhood home was in the Kentucky bluegrass country. So maybe she just came from Mississippi because they moved there later. But she's from Kentucky, and
she's probably moneyed if he owns a plantation.
Yeah, I mean,
and if we use the Robert's, smokes cigarettes, not cigars, as a wealth signifier, Mr. Pontellier smokes cigars like crazy. He just runs through them, so he obviously has money to burn, literally. And Leonce has gone to the club for the evening.
Yeah, and that's where he's going to stay.
And we don't know, and when he left, we don't know if he's coming back or what he's doing.
Well, we don't know if he's coming back for dinner specifically, but he does come back.
He doesn't, when he leaves, he doesn't explicitly say that.
Right, he doesn't.
So, I think she asks him, I think he says something along the lines of, well, it depends what's going on there, we'll see.
Yeah, he says,
see when I get there.
The size of the game.
Right, yeah. It's a good quote, I like that.
Well, he doesn't say it explicitly. She knows.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, all right.
Yeah. She just waves goodbye. She's used to this.
So we roll in chapter 3 and he comes home late. It's like 11 or so that he gets back. And he's super chatty. Like he has gotten all the news from the guys at the club. He wants to tell her about all the stuff that he learned. Well, and she's just like, eh.
Well, he's not just super chatty.
She doesn't want to hear it.
No, she doesn't want to hear it. She's also fast asleep, and he comes back, and he's in excellent spirits, and he's in good humor. He's drunk, basically. And he's waking up his sleeping wife, which is... I mean, don't do that. Don't wake up your sleeping wife.
Come on.
When you're drunk. And then he wants her to go check on the children. He thinks one of them has a fever, and she was in a dead sleep.
Raul's got a fever. Yeah, go check on him.
Yeah, and he doesn't. She doesn't think that he does. That Raul's.
But she goes to check anyway.
Yeah, she goes to check.
And she's
anyway.
upset.
She's upset that he woke her up.
She goes out, has a good cry.
Yeah, she does.
And then there's just mosquitoes everywhere. Again, I'm feeling this like.
You're really preoccupied.
Ugh. With the area. Apologies to all of our listeners from Louisiana who love it. Louisiana's not my thing. I'm sorry. It's not my scene.
Well, she doesn't just go. I want to go back to that. She doesn't just go out there just to have a good cry. That's really.
And if not for the mosquitoes, she would have stayed out all night crying. That's how bad they were.
Okay. All right. With the mosquitoes. But let's just take a look at what she's doing. So her husband's come home drunk. He's woken her up. He has basically said she's not a good mother because she's neglecting the kids. And when she goes out to cry, it says, this is a quote, an indescribable oppression which seemed to generate in some unfamiliar part of her consciousness filled her whole being with a vague anguish. It was like a shadow, like a mist passing across her soul's summer day. It was strange and unfamiliar. It was a mood. And she's not just sitting out there hating on her husband in her head. It says she didn't sit there inwardly upbraiding her husband or lamenting fate, which had directed her footsteps. She was just having a good cry all to herself. I can relate to that. I can relate to feeling overwhelmed or needing to really have that release and just sit out there. And, you know, she seems better in the morning, but I don't blame her at all for having been woken up in the middle of the night to check on her kid who supposedly has a fever.
And you know he doesn't have a fever.
Yeah, he doesn't have a fever, and her husband could have done it. He could have gone there and checked on him, but he makes his wife do it out of a dead sleep.
You can't wake me once I'm asleep.
No, it's a jerk thing to do.
Super heavy sleeper.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
You're a terribly heavy sleeper.
Well, they do now.
You know, some people get hangry. I get terribly sleep angry, and it's completely irrational. And being woken up makes me more angry than anything. So even if like Ben snoring, he has no control over it whatsoever, I get so furious at him, like literally angry, and I can't.
Just gotta get your sleep.
Yeah, I do. I just have to get my sleep. I can't control it. Anyway, that's my issue. So let's go next chapter.
And we get into chapter 4. Oh wait, no. Before we get into chapter 4, the next day, Mr. Pontellier, he leaves. He's going to work for a few days. He's going back to New Orleans. And everyone there is sad because they all like Mr. Pontellier, all the other guests.
Yeah, what's not to
He's
like?
a great guy because what's he do? He sends generous boxes of sweets and bonbons. Yeah. And
she shares them with everyone and he gives her money.
Right. Who doesn't like that? I like money.
Everyone likes money, of course. So I also want to point out that he was so upset with her that night, and he went off on this little thought tangent where he thought, well, if it isn't if it's not a woman's place to take care of the sick kids,
yes,
then what, right?
Whose is it?
Right.
That's why we have women. Come on.
Stop. He could have done it himself. He didn't have to wake up his wife just to check on a fever. Like, he'd been out drinking and having fun with his buddies all day and playing billiards or whatever, and now he's admonishing her for being neglectful. It just doesn't seem fair.
I mean, you know, I'm all. This might be a little sexist of me.
What are you gonna say?
But you know, I'm all for equality, but there are genetic and dispositional differences between the sexes. There just are. I'm sorry, folks, if you disagree. Like, well, I love my kids. I can take care of my kids for a day or two, but I just don't have the innate mothering instinct, you know, that my wife has. I will feed them. They will be alive. They will be bathed. They'll be happy. But will they be nurtured and fulfilled, or will they have watched a lot of cartoons and played some video games with dad? Yeah, probably.
Well, I think you're right, but I also, in a way, because I think you've hit on something really important about the book and about what the way women are portrayed and expected to act, men too. Right. And as a group, yes, that this may be true in the aggregate, but what is true of you in how you describe yourself not as nurturing is true for Edna too, and that's the problem. There's no accounting for. Yes.
But there are,
right.
There's not accounting for individuality.
Exactly. There's no accounting for individuality here, and she is not a quote mother woman as some of the other characters we're going to see are, and I think that that's the major issue.
Correct.
You can't group everyone into one category and say that this is what women are like, and if you're not, then you're not adhering to something when we're supposed to be also allowed to be individuals.
I mean, I think we see it in this book too, because we can make a generalization, but a generalization is a shorthand and a generalization, right? We can say a generalization of, oh, women are more nurturing,
right?
Which would be a true fact. That'd be a statement, but there are exceptions,
right?
As we see here in the book, Grand Isle, most of the other women, probably all of them, are that sort of mothering thing, except for Edna.
Right, except Edna.
So, you know, perhaps, you know, maybe she shouldn't have had children.
Yeah.
But societally, especially in 1899, she wasn't allowed to have that individuality.
Yeah.
And so she couldn't make that choice. Yeah. So she couldn't make that choice of, hey, I'm not the mothering type, so I'm not going to have kids. But society said, no, you have to. So I think that's the crux.
Yeah, that's the...
Which gets us into chapter 4, where she is contrasted. We meet a new character. We meet Adele Ratignolle, who is the very picture of this womanly motherhood you're describing.
Yeah, not just womanly motherhood, but like the picture of femininity. Sorry, she's very mothering. She loves her children. She loves her husband. Everything is perfect. She's very delicate. She's always like passing out. Never quite sure if she should take a bonbon, if she should
her figure couldn't handle
eat one
it.
or not. She's always melting in the heat. She's very delicate.
So yeah, if you melt in the heat and the sun, I'm just going to be frank with you. Louisiana is probably not where you should be living,
No,
Adele.
it's not at all. No.
Maybe try Minnesota or something.
Right, but despite their differences, Adele and Edna end up being very good friends.
Correct. And this difference, in the beginning of the chapter, we're told that Léonce, Mr. Pontillier, he can't articulate why his wife is a bad mother, but she is, and he can feel it. So he doesn't quite know why, but it gnaws at him a little bit that she's not a good mom.
Well, he sees it in, like, when the kids get hurt, they don't go running to her for kisses or to be comforted.
Right.
But I don't know why he's being so judgy, because it's not exactly like, they fall down and hurt themselves and they run to him either. So
maybe they do.
Well,
it says the kids love him in the first chapter.
Yeah, because he brings them, or he promises to bring them bonbons and treats and whatever, but he forgot them that night. He went to Klein's, he said he'd bring them, and he never did. So
that could be.
Yeah, I think it's the chocolates and the bonbons.
I mean, I would say in general, again, generality, like when my kids are injured, they do come for me for comfort, but if given a choice, they will go to their mom first, even though they do come for me for comfort at times. So maybe I'm not a good mother.
No, you're not a good mother. But I think with my son, whoever's in close proximity is who he wants kisses from.
Yeah, whoever's closer.
Yeah, if daddy kiss it, mommy kiss it. It's just whoever's there, please someone kiss it.
Just got to get that kiss.
Yeah, he totally does, and it makes him feel so much better. But I would say too that there were definitely phases when I was the only person that could comfort him, and he would send dad away, and it seemed very unfair to Ben.
Interesting.
But he was attached to me.
Well, I mean, he was literally attached to you, so that lingers.
It seemed to linger for a long time, but now he seems attached to Ben. It's good for me, at least.
All right, so we've met Adele, and we've mentioned that they are different, yet Adele is very fond of Mrs. Pontillier despite these differences.
Yeah. She's always trying to get her to be involved in the things she's doing. Like in one episode, they're sewing clothes and she's not into it.
These are winter clothes.
They're winter
it's the middle
clothes.
of summer. I don't see why we need to sew winter clothes.
Yeah, she doesn't want to sew.
Exactly. So again, as we sort of contrast with our last book, Catherine was not good at doing useful things like sewing and whatnot. So, can we say that Mrs. Pontillier is the evolution of Catherine Morland? Eventually?
Maybe eventually.
It's 100 years later.
Well, yeah, 100 years later. I don't know. That I could see that.
Feminist rebellion, first off, was, I don't want to sew. I'm not interested in talking about muslin. And it goes all the way to, I'm going to ignore my children and sleep with this other man. Oh, Catherine, how quickly you changed.
Well, we haven't really gotten quite there yet.
Anyway.
And their personalities aren't just different in that she doesn't want to sew or do these womanly things, but she also finds the Creoles have this distinct absence of prudery, and she's very...
Yes.
And Edna seems to blush at everything, like Robert and Adele talk about certain things, and Edna can't do it. She seems delicate in that respect, in the fact that she can't talk about certain things.
She can't say the word pregnant without getting embarrassed.
She can't say the word pregnant.
She blushes over Robert saying something about, oh, is this when you were pregnant?
Yeah.
She's like, oh, don't say that, Robert.
Yeah, and Adele shares every single detail of one of her births.
Yes.
Every detail. I think it was Miss Farival.
Yes, she was telling him a birth story from one of her many children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Adele's like, what?
No, not Adele. Edna. Edna did not appreciate the gory details in the story.
Hey, look, I delivered one of my children in the front seat of the car, and
Yes,
I
you
have
did.
told that story
Yes, you did.
a copious number of times. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of with Adele on this one. When you got a good story, you got to share it.
Well, I absolutely think a good friend of mine just had a baby, and I told her, she asked for advice, and so I told her, look, you should tell your birth story to anyone who will listen, because it's absolutely a type of trauma to you, and to think about it, and to figure it out, and figure out what's just happened to you. You should tell that story over and over again.
Say if they just had the baby today, the advice should be it's too late.
Well, no, she asked me for advice before. It's not too late.
Too late for advice.
No, it's not. I told her weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Should have done it months ago.
Well,
So what do we make of this? This is the only thing I was confused. This last paragraph. So it just says a book goes around.
yeah.
And when Mrs. Pontellier gets it, she has this overwhelming urge to read it like secretly and silently. So it must be something scandalous. But everybody else there talks about it at dinner. And what was this book? What do you make of that?
Well, I don't think that it's necessarily a scandalous book. I think that this is an example of just how deeply introverted and introspective she is, and how deeply she feels things, because she doesn't want anyone to catch her. She hides it when
Even though they gave it to her.
Right. They gave it to her, but she hides it when...
And she knows they've read it.
They've all read it. And again, they're passing it around the dinner table, but she hides it when people come near, because she doesn't want them to see her feeling, see her reading it, seeing her being moved by it. This is a private thing. And I don't think that's, I mean, it's a little weird, but I don't think it's that terrible to want to have those moments of solitude to yourself while you're reading a book, especially one that you know everybody else has already had some sort of interaction with.
No, but I want to know what they were reading. I want to read it too. All right, that gets us to chapter 5, and we've sort of started hinting at it, but they explicitly lay out that Adele, Mrs. Pontellier, and Robert are sort of forming a little clique here on the island.
Yeah, they hang out all the time, and not just are they a clique, but Robert has utterly devoted himself to Edna this summer. And we also learn in the past he has had at one point utterly devoted himself to Adele, and now he's devoted to Edna, basically. And we learn that Creole men never get jealous, so nobody's worried about this at all. And how can that be? Do people really never get jealous? I don't understand how you let this young man hang out with your wife all summer, and that's just the way Creoles are. Like, do you think he really doesn't feel any jealousy at all?
And this really is showing the Creoles as, I took it as they are just a more free and libertine society compared to whatever the norm amongst, even Southern Kentuckians was back at the turn of the century.
You say Southern Kentuckians, like at some point they were considered the free libertines of some era. And I don't think they're free libertines in that they're just like having orgies everywhere. But again, I wonder, like, do you really think that the men just never ever get jealous?
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I'm not Creole.
Well, I guess that's a good point.
I mean, this is part of the difficulty of reading a book 120 some years later from, I'm not Creole, nor am I Southern. So nor am I from the turn of the 20th century. So I think there's a lot of and this is such a concise book. I think there's just a lot of subtext that I'm missing as we go through this.
I'll help you find it. Don't worry. I won't let you miss it for too long. I do think there's a lot of subtext here, but I also think that we can take the story at face value for what it says is going on.
Right.
So, and part of what I think is really going on, at least in chapter 5, is that they're really setting up Robert to be a zero threat. This is what he's done before. Nobody's jealous. He's been doing it since he was a kid. And so why should anybody be concerned? And their friendship is really sweet, too. They're sitting on the porch, and we learn that Adele sketches, and she's drawn Adele, and Adele doesn't think it looks anything like her.
My sketches are terrible as well, but I still do it.
Well, I don't know if it's terrible.
So I kind of feel for her there.
Well, Robert thinks it's a really good sketch, even though it doesn't look exactly like Adele.
This is true.
And he's supportive of her, and so they're very good friends at this point. And at the end of the chapter, he says, are you ready to go bathing? And so they
go back and they swim.
Yeah,
more.
They go back.
A lot of swimming in this book.
It's a ton of swimming in this book.
Yes.
What else are you going to do? And ultimately, that brings us to the next chapter. My favorite.
Oh, your favorite chapter. Yeah. It's the short one.
It's the short chapter. I love this chapter.
Go for it.
Thank you. I'm going to go for it paragraph by paragraph. So chapter 6 is just so beautiful. It's one page. I said 7 paragraphs. So the first paragraph, at the end of the previous chapter, Edna says no, that she's not going to go swimming, and then she does. And so in the first paragraph, it says she could not have told why, wishing to go to the beach with Robert, she should in the first place have declined. And so to me, it was this line of the two contradictory impulses which impelled her. Mm-hmm. And I think of this as double think, I think is what Orwell called it, is holding two simultaneous yet contradictory beliefs and really believing them both at the same time, despite the fact that they're contradictory. And I think, honestly, I think we can see that a lot today if you just turn on the news and talk to people or, listen to what's going on. And I won't get into it, but all of us can and do this, hold these simultaneous yet contradictory beliefs.
Well, that's how you are a hypocrite, right?
Well, I think so. I think that's partially the definition of the hypocrite, though. With a hypocrite, you could do it just to be proving a point. Like, I'm going to do one thing and then say another, but I don't actually believe both of the things. I believe one of them, either the thing I did or the thing I said. But in this case, in doublethink, you actually believe both of them, despite the fact that they're contradictory.
Yes.
And our brains do this for various reasons.
Exactly.
And that's what's happening here. And so we get this contradictory impulse in her right now that she's recognizing. And then the second paragraph, a certain light was beginning to dawn dimly within her. I think it's pretty obvious, right, that this is the awakening that we're talking about. But this isn't like an awakening to something wonderful and beautiful. It's very ominous because it's the light which, showing the way, forbids it, right? So it's a little scary.
It's a forbidden awakening.
Yeah, it's a forbidden awakening.
Forbidden by whom?
I think that's a good point. I think we should talk about that.
Society?
Yes, I think it could be.
See. Yeah.
I think it could be society. We're going to, investigate that as we go on. But so this light has awakened. And right now it's just causing her anguish. This is why she had that mood where she just cried on the porch. She doesn't know what's happening to her. She feels overcome and she just doesn't know how to deal with it. So the next paragraph, she was beginning to realize, it says, her position in the universe as a human being, which... holy crap, that's a lot. It says it's a lot to put on someone of so young an age to suddenly realize who you are in the universe. It says it's a ponderous weight of wisdom to spend upon a soul of a woman of 28. Yes. And that's... which,
again, up to this time, I was picturing her more middle age, but...
Right. No, she's only 28. She's, in fact, not a cougar at all. So Robert doesn't get the props that he deserves.
I was going to give Robert some props,
well,
but now there's age peers. It's kind of lame. Whatever.
Going after someone your own age. Anyway, so, this next paragraph, she's got this awakening is happening. It's confusing. It abandons her to tears. And this paragraph I've actually been thinking about this year because before I lost my job, we were doing something brand new at work and we were scrapping something that that worked for us, but we were trying to imagine it differently and imagine it new. And so this particular paragraph was weighing on me, and I just love it. It says, "But the beginning of things, of a world especially, is necessarily vague, tangled, chaotic, and exceedingly disturbing, which when you abandon something you know, or you start a new life, or you, I think I can say this, but like for you, you've just retired and you've left the army, you've left the military, a life that you've been living since you were 17, not basically, right? So you've lived this life for 20 years. And so now the new life that you begin, what does that look like in these very beginning stages, right? Can I say that?
Oh, sure. That's why I took the trip that I took, just to get some space to figure out what the heck do I do now. Yeah.
Yeah. And for her, it's very ominous, the end. It says, "How few of us ever emerge from such a beginning. How many souls perish in its tumult." So this is the crux of it all. This awakening is key.
I mean, it is the title of the book.
Right.
So.
Well.
Yeah.
Our poor character.
Edna.
Yeah.
I just also have to say that the cognitive dissonance that me as a 21st century person has in a 28-year-old woman being named Edna is just amazing. What? Like, so I apologize to anyone out there named Edna.
Well, Nana, yeah.
Our grandmother's name was Edna. So to me...
But she was young once.
Yeah, I don't think she ever was 28. She came out at like 65.
No, she did not.
Edna is just an old woman. Like, she just is. Ednas were never young. I mean, if your name is Edna and you were young at one point, you're gonna have to prove that to me. That send me a letter from the nursing home and tell me that you were young.
A birth certificate.
Try to convince me.
Well, that's the thing now, isn't it? That we name older names have been coming back. Names like Hazel or Louise but I don't know. I haven't heard any Ednas recently.
Yeah, but Edna. That's too old. Ednas are never young.
Well, our Edna is young. She's only 28, in the midst of this awakening. And then the final paragraph, I just think the final two paragraphs, absolutely gorgeous, about the sea. And you thought you had a very different interpretation than I did of these final two paragraphs.
You don't think the sea is a stand-in or a metaphor for sex?
I mean, it could be, but...
Or swimming?
Well, swimming, that's a little...
I mean, she only swims with Robert and Adele. She ain't swimming with Léonce. I'm just saying.
No, he's there. He swims. He's there.
Not with her. I mean, she does her swimming duty, but she doesn't enjoy it. Well, he's not a good swimmer.
Yeah, but he's there. He's watching her.
He likes to watch her swim. See, these guys, they're libertines. I'm telling you, Léonce's a freak, man.
Well, his wife doesn't know how to swim.
He's not jealous.
No, he's not jealous. But again, back to the paragraphs about the sea. It says the voice of the sea is seductive, never ceasing. And I took it as, the way the sea calls to people, and people are innately drawn to the sea, yeah. like in Moby Dick. I was thinking.
Well, what's a pirate's favorite letter?
I already know this because your son did this to me just recently.
Then give me the satisfaction. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
Oh, you'd think it'd be R, but his first love is the sea.
Oh my God. That's not how William told it. William told it to me that there are two answers and you flip the joke depending on who gives you the answer.
It doesn't quite work the other way. Yeah, you got to really get people to say R first. Anyway.
No, he said you could say C. I thought it was interesting to tell
he always explains them too. Bless his little heart.
Well, Vince loves to tell jokes, and he'll just say, knock, knock, and then he just makes a fart noise. And
you laugh.
Yeah, and we laugh every time.
There you go.
It's a good joke.
All right, so chapter 7, we connect a little more with Adele and Edna's friendship. They have actual conversation. There's a scene where she asks, Adele asks Edna what she's thinking about?
Yeah.
And at first Edna just says, oh, nothing.
Yeah.
And then she goes, oh, wait a minute. Hang on.
Yeah.
Let me really connect and tell you what I'm actually thinking about.
She walks back through the whole thing, even though Adele was going to let her off the hook about it.
Yeah. I don't actually want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this reminded me again of our last book with the small talk, where, the small talk between friends, when it's sincerely felt, it's important. Or in the beginning in Bath, when Henry Tilney is just asking the Bath questions that you ask, how are you finding Bath, et cetera, or when you say, hey, what's up? How's it going, man? You don't actually want to know. But in this case, Edna felt that connection, that closeness with Adele. She's like, you know what? I actually want to tell you what I'm thinking about. So let me give you a second. I'll actually tell you.
Yeah, and so she walks her through what she's thinking about, and she's thinking about walking through her Kentucky bluegrass home of when she was a girl, and she's actually able to connect it to how she's feeling right now. So she said, as a young girl, I was walking aimlessly and idly through the bluegrass, maybe skipping my prayers or something like that. And she says she eventually realizes that she feels that way this summer, as if I were walking through the green meadow again, idly, aimlessly, unthinking, and unguided. So this talk has really helped her make a connection between how she's feeling now and her past.
And she comes up with two stories, right? She comes up with the story of the cav soldier and the tragedian.
Yeah.
Who she was a early teenager, pre-teenager, like 15 or something. I forget how old she was.
Yeah.
But, she saw these older guys and sort of started, I guess, her first level awakening, feeling stirrings and attraction to these older men.
Well, she was totally infatuated with them.
Right.
She had this passion, which I don't know if it was exactly an awakening, but she was definitely feeling
different.
Yeah.
It was a new feeling.
Yeah.
And now here at Grand Isle, she's starting to feel a similar feeling.
Yeah. And this is something she does not feel for her husband.
No.
At all. She does not have a passion for him. She feels fond.
Fond of you?
Yeah.
I guess that's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, but nobody wants to be told that your spouse is fond of you. You want your spouse to be passionate towards you. She's only with Leonce because he flattered her in the first place and was devoted to her, so she liked that. But then also she was forbidden to see him because he was a Catholic, and you can't marry a Catholic.
Exactly.
And she can't. She's like, I'm totally gonna do this. I'm gonna
do it, Dad.
Yeah, I'm gonna marry him.
So again, what's better to be a parent?
Right.
A little throwback Northanger Abbey. Should we rebel or should we listen?
Well, she certainly...
All these books be connected.
She certainly doesn't like her life now, so I think that would give us our answer in that case.
True.
Catherine liked Tilney, so that's one difference.
It's a lot more humid, too. So that's...
If you say humid...
Big strike against it.
You say humid one more time.
I really hate humidity.
I can tell.
I just got to put that out there.
I think you did. You put it out there multiple times already. I think you're good on it. What might be worse than humidity is full-on heat, considering the fact that the entire West Coast is on fire right now. So I think that might be the only thing that trumps the heat with humidity is actual fire.
Which the Northeast is right now.
Yeah, they're totally on fire.
So,
no, the Northwest.
Hang in there, people. Listen to evacuation orders. Get out of there, please. Things can be replaced. You can't.
I was there I was in north of San Francisco in 2018 when they had the campfire there, and it was just terrible. I couldn't breathe. I hated it. It felt like being in a bar circa 2005 before they outlawed smoking in bars. And it was...
Yeah, they say the air quality up in Oregon is just off the charts bad right now, too.
Yeah. You couldn't... It was miserable to be outside. I just wanted to get home. I hated it.
Okay, so on that cheery note, we roll into chapter 8, and Adele kind of gets on Robert for his flirtation with Edna.
Yeah,
she says, "Hey man, come on, you ain't serious. Leave her alone."
Well, she doesn't know I'm serious.
He says, how do
you know I'm not serious?
Because you've been doing this every summer since you was 15, Robert. You latch on to these older ladies, and
she doesn't know that.
I guess that's why I thought Edna was older, because since he was 15, he's been going after the married ladies that come there in the summer.
Yeah, and Edna doesn't know that he's been doing that for years, and she doesn't know that he's not serious.
Ah, that could be. Well, we mentioned earlier that he has some unrealized dreams, and in this chapter, He goes up and he talks to his mom, who's working at the sewing machine, or rather has one of her indentured servants work in the sewing machine. And turns out she's got a letter from a friend who says, hey man, I'm down in Mexico. I got a job for you. Why don't you come on down? Which has been Robert's dream.
Yeah, and he's never yet fulfilled it. So he always talks about going to Mexico, and he's never yet to do it. And now it looks like this could be a chance.
We shall see.
So we don't know.
That's a short chapter. Not much happened in that one. Anything else to say about 8?
I don't think so. There's not much to it, but it's definitely setting up some important things for later in the book.
Foreshadowing.
Exactly. Yeah, this book has a lot of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
It's not of events.
They should be. A well-written book should be.
Yeah, they should.
There should be themes that come around again. Is this Chekhov's letter? We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, so that brings us into chapter 9. We have a little bit of time jump, so it's been a few weeks, and we're having a party.
Weeks.
So all the folks on Grand Isle are having a little dinner party. And now, in the modern times, we have dinner music. You can put on a CD of some, I guess, I'm dating myself here. I guess you do a Spotify playlist now, right?
Playlist set up, exactly.
Sorry about that. Yeah, my bad. I still purchase my music.
Do you?
Because you can't take it away from me then. I own it.
Yeah.
It's mine. I don't have to pay a subscription to listen to my music.
You buy actual CDs?
I purchase CDs.
Good, because I was going to say, even if you buy them digitally, they still could take them away from you. You don't always get to keep them.
They could, exactly. Yeah. But if you have the physical copy, and they're super cheap now, people, go buy CDs. Holy cow, Walmart has like tons of $5 CDs. I remember when CDs were like $25. Man, anyway.
And they used to come out on Tuesdays.
Yeah, record store day.
Yeah.
Of course. Well, don't buy from Walmart either. Support a local record store, people. Come on. All right.
Even though you just said to buy from Walmart, talk about two contradictory thoughts held simultaneously.
I hold two contradictory. I want to support local music stores, and yet I still go to Walmart.
Can't resist the $5 price.
My bad.
Yeah.
All right. So we have this party. So as nowadays you put your playlist of background music on, but back then you couldn't do that. So the party goers themselves have to provide the entertainment. A couple of the kids do a recitation that, everybody's heard 100 times already because they do it because we're all friends back in New Orleans too, and they do it for parties back there. Somebody plays piano. Nobody's really paying attention to the music until I think what Robert suggests. Hey, he says do you want Madame Rice to play? Because she likes you, Edna. Yeah. Edna's like, what? She doesn't like anybody. She like me? It's like, no, for real. I'll tell her that you want her to play, and she'll come play. And she does. So Madame Rice comes in. She's this old crotchety lady who's always yelling at people from her cabin. Doesn't like anybody, but for some reason she likes Edna. And if Edna said to come play, she does. So she comes in. Madame Rice comes in, and she plays. Now, this is where we find out Edna has, I don't know what you would call it. Synesthesia is when you see colors in music. Edna sees pictures, like scenes.
Yeah, she just gets these images in her head of what's going on. And synesthesia could be like you just get your senses mixed up. It's not necessarily seeing music as
pictures.
Yeah, as pictures. Okay. It could be just that her senses get mixed up.
Okay, so Edna could have synesthesia.
Yeah, she could.
So I was not far off.
No.
Because when she hears music, she sees pictures, right?
Yeah, she sees pictures.
Well, Madame Rice starts playing, and Edna does not see anything this time around. Rather, she feels it. Like, she has a physical, visceral reaction to the music.
Yeah, she feels it really deeply.
Which, in my opinion, that's what good music should do.
Yeah, well...
I like music a lot. And you should have a reaction to music, I think. But
she's having a new and different reaction that she hasn't had before, and it's distinctly emotional and physical. It even says, that she gets this physical sensation when she listens to music. It's a little bit like getting chills, a little bit like ASMR,
Are you not supposed to? Do you not get a reaction from ASMR?
No, I do. I definitely do.
I don't know. Are you supposed to get a reaction? I don't know.
Yes, you are. I mean, not everyone does. Do you know? she's not experiencing ASMR. She's experiencing something distinctly different that has to do with music, and it's called freeze-on. And
is that what you put in your air conditioner?
No, it's not what you put your air conditioner. It's Freon.
Is that who Goku fought in the first season of Dragon Ball Z?
No, I don't know what you're talking about right now, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I've been in the car all day. Come on.
All right, fine. But do you have ASMR? Is that something that you experience? Is it happening for you right now? No, I guess it's not.
I'm not. I have to admit, I'm not feeling any tingling down my spine right now.
Nothing.
Am I supposed to?
Yes, you are.
I don't think so. No.
I mean, you're not supposed to. Only if you actually have it.
So, like, you feel tingling down your spine when you hear things like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I listen to it every day.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I've got my favorites.
Weird.
It's not that weird. I've got my favorites. I listen to Maria, Gentle Whispering, like every day.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've got friends that experience it too. But
apparently, as you found out, my tattoo artist apparently is a big ASMR dude as well.
Yeah, he had like 100,000 followers.
That's way more than we have on this podcast.
Yeah.
So
it's a good following. But I used to love when I would work retail and my boss would count down my drawer because the counting, I would love to watch him do that, and I would get like tingles.
That just means you're Scrooge McDuck.
No, that's not what that means. It's not that I like money. It's the counting and the concentration that really did it. And I used to like watch people draw and paint and things like that.
I will say I did like watching in Korea when they would count money because they flip it and fold it in half and then like flip it out as they count. It was really cool. Anyway.
Interesting. Did it give you tingles?
No, it didn't give me. It was fun to watch. I enjoyed watching it.
Oh, well, it'd be better if it gave you tingles. Then it's worth watching it more so. But she doesn't have ASMR. She has this thing called freeze-on, which is distinctly related to music. And it gives you...
Oh, okay.
It gives you tingles. It's the chills. It's the chills before like something climactic in the music or something, like everything ramps up. I mean, you can Google it. Come on. But I get chills with music. Do you not get chills with music when you hear like a really great crescendo? You don't get chills all through your body?
No.
Not at all? Huh. Well.
No. I mean, I get excited. There are certain parts of music that...
Does it make your hair stand up? Does it make your hair stand on end?
That's not my hair stand. I mean, it pumps me up. Like certain like... And I have to like silence everybody when it's about to happen. Like... one of my favorite bits in Hamilton is the last track of the first
scene, the first act.
The first act.
Oh, okay,
the first act. Yeah. Nonstop. When they're talking about the Federalist Papers, and Aaron Burr has the little vocal break where he says, talking about Hamilton and John Jay and Madison writing the Federalist Papers, and they finished up with 85 essays, and John Jay got sick after 5. And Madison wrote 29, and then he builds and it builds. And he goes, Hamilton wrote the other 51. Like that. Yeah, I guess I get a little chills from that.
Is it distinctly related to American history or Hamilton? No, but I remember when you used to drive me around in your Volkswagen Rabbit, and you would take me places before I could drive. You would like take me to the mall, but before you could. Before you would find a place to park, if there was a song on that you liked, you would not park. And I was just a kid and I wanted to get into the mall, but you refused to park the car because you had to finish the song. I don't even know what it was. It might have been like Bohemian Rhapsody or something like that.
You have to complete the harmony.
And you wouldn't...
You can't just leave it hanging.
But for Edna, this is a really emotional experience that she's having. I don't know if she's having... all of these.
Well, I think it's also magnified because she knows that Madame Rice is playing for her.
Yeah.
Like this is almost personal at this point.
I think there's a kinship there.
So she finishes, and as Madame Rice is leaving, she like pats Edna on the shoulder and is like, "This was for you. Like only for you am I doing this."
Because she hates everyone else. Madame Rice hates everyone else.
Okay, so we are going long on this one, so let's kind of finish this up. So chapter 10. Basically, we have it's swimming. So the party breaks up. They all decide to go swimming at like midnight or whatever. And come on, I'm telling you, swimming equals sex. Just keep that in mind.
It's not an orgy.
Well, I mean, maybe it's a key party and they're all breaking up to each other's rooms. I don't know. But Edna goes swimming and she goes out and...
Well, she doesn't know how to swim. She can't swim.
She learned how to swim this summer. Right,
well,
she just learned how to swim this summer.
No, they tried to teach her and I don't think they...
Sort of. And she's very excited by it. Right. As someone who didn't learn how to swim until he was in college, I don't get Edna at all here. Like, honey, stay out of the water. You can die. But anyway, she loves it. She goes out a little too far and has to struggle to get back. And nobody helped her. And she's a little upset by that. Kind of scolds Leonce. And he's like, I was watching you. You were fine. You could do it. I knew you could do it.
That's the part where he's watching
but she's mad. So she storms off. She's like, I'm going home. And Robert walks her home in the dark, and they kind of chat on the way. And then she gets back to the cottage. There's a hammock out front. She's like, you know what? I'm not going in. I'm going to lay in this hammock. Whatever. So she does.
Well, she at first was, let me go back a little bit. She was at first excited that she was swimming, and then she has this very serious near-death experience. She had a quick vision of death that smote her soul. And for a second...
And that's why you don't swim.
And it enfeebled her senses.
You don't go in the water.
And she says, I thought I should have perished out there alone, to her husband.
And nobody came to help me.
Right. And nobody came to help her. Her husband says, well, I was watching you. And as if that's good enough. But...
That's literally every time I get in the water, so I'm totally
you think you're going to perish every single time? Ridiculous.
So we get to chapter 11, and... Leonce finally comes home, and he's like, Edna, what are you doing out here on the porch? Come on in. And she's like,
nope.
Doesn't answer him. She's like, nope. Yeah. I'm hanging out on the porch. This is her first like real open defiance of him.
Yeah.
And he tries everything. He's angry, he's sweet, he's cajoling, he's begging her to come in. Mm-hmm. Doesn't work. Mm-mm. He is viscerally frustrated. He is pacing. He doesn't know what to do with himself. Mm-mm. He smokes inside. He comes out to smoke. He's frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Well, and after he tries all of this stuff, she gets frustrated. Right. And she says, Leonce, go to bed. I mean to stay out here. I don't wish to go in, and I don't intend to. Don't speak to me like that again. I shall not answer you. So it's pretty intense, I think, for the first time for her, right?
Yeah.
It's like...
She bucks up to him for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not used to it.
He doesn't know how to handle it.
But it's been brewing in her for a while.
Definitely. I mean, from his perspective, it's out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. He doesn't know this awakening that she's going through.
Right. She barely knows it. And she's starting to wonder, like, has he ever spoken to me like that before? Oh, of course he has. And I submitted to his command every time. And so then she remembers, like, of course, I always listen to him. I do what he says. And she's starting to wonder, like, how that ever could have been true.
Right.
She's got this will inside of herself that's blazing up, and it's stubborn and it's resistant, and she wants to win this one.
Well, no, as we see at the end of the chapter, he goes for the last word, because finally when she's ready to go in, she goes in and says, all right, I'm going in. And he says, all right, fine. I'm going to finish my cigar. Whatever.
I hate those games. I hate the ridiculous games like that.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
All right, so that gets into our last chapter that we covered in this portion. And so this is kind of change of tone. It's now Sunday. It's Mass. Everybody's going to go to Mass, but in order to do so, you have to leave Grand Isle. You got to get in a little boat and ride off. So Edna, out of character, again, as she's awakening, she's doing things that she normally wouldn't do. She sends for Robert. She sends one of the workers. She says, hey, little girl, go fetch Robert for me. And this has never happened before. Robert gets all excited. He's like, whoa, she's never called for me.
It. Yeah.
Races down there. And now some of the characters, we haven't mentioned some of the ancillary characters. And I think since we're getting long, we'll kind of maybe dig into them a little more next time.
Yeah.
But we've got the lovers. There's a couple that's out there at the aisle. We've got the lady in black.
Yeah.
Who kind of always, you pointed out, sort of always trails the lovers.
Yeah.
We got Monsieur Farival,
yeah,
who's there, and we've got Baudelaire, who is sort of his rival at sailing, as we see in this chapter. Mm-hmm. And we meet a new person. We meet Maria Quita,
Yeah.
who is a Spanish girl who's at the island. We don't really know why. I mean, it doesn't really mention why. Don't know much about her yet. But kind of the interaction here is she's kind of messing with Robert and Mrs. Pontellier and kind of teasing Robert about her. And she's doing it in Spanish.
Yeah, because...
which Mrs. Pontellier does not speak.
Nope, but Robert does.
And so she's, asking Robert, oh, is this your sweetheart? Is that your girlfriend? And he says, well, no, she's married. She's got 4 kids. And she's like,
Never.
Doesn't stopped you in the past and hasn't stopped other people. What about those 2 over there? Are they married? No, but okay, well, and you remember so-and-so, didn't they? And he's like, oh, okay.
Francisco ran away with Silvano's wife.
Yeah.
Who had 4 children, and they took all his money
There you
and
go.
stole his boat. But they only took one child.
One of the children.
just
one. My favorite with me.
Just one.
Pick and choose. But Edna gets a little frustrated. She's getting a little frustrated by this. She's like, what's she saying? Come on, what's her deal? And Robert doesn't really tell her. And that kind of ends our section, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Well, wait, no. Because they also talk about what Edna and Robert also talk about what they're going to do the next day. So they want to sail on the bayou, or they're going to go out hiking. And they talk about all the things that they're going to do. So then that's the end of this chapter. And I'm really excited to see how this goes, to see our differing viewpoints, and to see if there's anything that we connect on with this. I think this is a very different book for you, and so I'm interested to see what you think and to see what comes along.
Well, I have a surprise for you before we close out this week.
You do? I love surprises. What is it?
The mailbag is open.
It is?
Wait,
I thought you were going to tell me you have another kid.
Oh, goodness, no. That's a physical impossibility. It's Robert's, not mine at that point. But no, we got a mailbag email.
Well, that's exciting.
Yes, very exciting. So we got a very nice note from Badger, who is a trucker and listens to our podcast while he's on the road. We keep him company.
That is so cool.
So it's pretty exciting.
That makes me really happy.
I know. I was totally stoked. So he said I think he's a few books behind. It sounds like he's still in Metamorphosis.
Okay.
And he was feeling a little nervous about Northanger Abbey. So Badger, if you're a few books behind, you're not going to hear this for a while, buddy. But I encouraged him to give Northanger Abbey a shot. I think maybe he would like it more than he would expect. And hopefully we made it accessible.
Yeah.
So, hey, Badger, send us an update, man, once you finally get to this episode. Did we make Northanger Abbey accessible to you or not? Did you still not enjoy it?
That'd be really great information to know, actually.
It would.
Because that's the whole point of the podcast, is to try to make it accessible. And I'd like to know if we were successful. So
anyway, stay safe on the roads out there, Badger. Appreciate all you are doing to keep the country and the economy rolling, my man.
Oh, it makes me so happy.
All right, so that is our episode discussion for this week, folks. Tomorrow we will have the next section.
Yep. Up
through chapter 28. What did you email me?
I think I said it was chapter 26, actually, not 28. 26.
26. Okay. So we'll be doing up through chapter 26. You'll find that in your feeds tomorrow. And then we will be back with you next week to discuss the middle section of Kate Chopin's Awakening.
I can't wait. I love this book. I'm so excited.
This is very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So this has been Classics You Slept Through. You can connect with us as Badger did via email, cystpod@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on any of the other socials. We are at cystpod on Twitter, Instagram, and the Facebook. So connect with us. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what else you'd like to see from your friendly neighborhood classic book podcast. So until next time, please wear your mask when you're going between classes. And you probably should wear it in class too, if you are back in class.
Hell, just wear it in your Zoom meeting. Just wear
it on Zoom.
Yeah.
Set an example. Show people, just wear your masks.
All the time.
It's simple. All right. We'll see you next time.
Peace.